We have an SS in the house. All right, so we, kind of get bored on some of these longer builds that are 2, 3, 4 months long. And luckily, we bring in some of these smaller builds, upgrades. This car doesn't look like it right now because the whole front end's off of it, but it's actually got a really nice paint job. It's a really nice restoration build, kept, mostly original styling, but there were a few things off on the body panel placement, so we've taken off the whole front end. We're kind of relining everything. We're starting with the doors and working our way forward to kind of get everything back in alignment before things start rubbing, because when things start rubbing, not only do you start getting some paint chips, you also start bending some metal, and then you're really in trouble. So we, luckily the customer on this one caught that early enough. And while he had it here with us, he was like, hey, what do you, what's your experience with those fuel injection carburetors, the Sniper, the Phytex? And I love them. We put one in the blue Bronco that we built, and that customer loves it. He, it runs great. It went from here straight out to Arizona, self-tuned to the different climate, and it's just nice, especially here in Missouri, this customer. And with the changing climates, he'll be able to just start right up and not have to worry about it. So with that, it's not just throwing a new carburetor on, it's a lot of kind of infrastructure, which I'm doing the wiring up top here. And Austin, he got a little fuel on him down there, didn't you?
Just a little bit.
Taking off. It hadn't ran in like a week because we let it set, and with the mechanical fuel pump, we're like, oh, it can't be that much pressure on there. Well, sure enough, we popped the back line off and sprayed out a little more than we were expecting. Kind of got on them, but we survived, and now we're putting the new line in. So Austin can go on a little bit about that.
Yeah. So one of the fun things about doing a Sniper system on a car like this is that you need a little more pressure than what the old pump is giving out. So we put an inline pump, electrical, inside the frame rail. But because of that, we've got to add a pre and a post filter to knock down anything that might have gotten into the tank and into the lines before it goes up to that fuel injected carburetor. Because the old school carburetors, they have jets, and the jets are big enough that they'll let something pass through them within reason. But with an injector, they're much smaller and they don't allow hardly anything to flow through them except fuel. So you have to be very careful of that. The other thing we've done already down here is we've ran a return line because the original system wasn't returned, but the new one is just because of how much pressure it makes. And we've also added a new O2 sensor for the computer system to read what is going on and adjust as it goes.
All right, so now 2 of the smaller projects are done. The one we just looked at pretty closely, the Chevelle, and then over here the Viper. We got it back from paint, got it back together. We're gonna give you a little 2-for-1 bonus walk around on both of them. So we'll start with the Chevelle. Austin, you think it came out pretty well?
She looks a lot better than when she came in. I mean, she was what, almost 1/4 inch on some panels out, and
yeah. These doors back here, which you'll see in some B-roll, they were pretty bad. They were pretty low. Starting to get really, really close up here. Maybe even did touch a little bit when I had these fenders and doors off. I noticed a few things, but it was close. I think we're fine. But yeah, I mean, these gaps right here, this is smooth all the way down through here. Both sides just look absolutely amazing. The car, I mean, starts right up. Sounds amazing. We'll give you a little tour of that. Now it's got an electric fuel pump. How many 70 Chevelles start up like that? That was a purely cold start. This hasn't been started for a couple of days, and that, I mean, I didn't pump the gas, nothing. It just started right up. that's going to be, I think, the biggest upgrade he's going to notice. And the springs, I mean, just the stance, you can see how it just, it sits a lot better, how it's supposed to sit. There was one of these at a car show recently, a 70 Chevelle. And, before we had this one done, I was like, that's the look we're going for. And sure enough, there it is. But, yeah, we'll crack the hood now and kind of show you the upgrades inside.
Maybe.
Maybe. He doesn't know how to open up old car hoods. Got to pull it really hard. Real hard. There we go. Got that.
Okay. There we go.
And as you can see, it doesn't look any different, which is exactly what this customer wanted. He wanted to retain that, 396 turbojet look of this 70 Chevelle. And this isn't like the normal stuff we do, custom stuff. This is mostly original looking. He wanted to keep that. Everything looks the same. We hid the new fuel lines because there's a fuel supply and a fuel return now when there wasn't on the carburetor. We hid those back behind it. You can't see them. The wiring for it, you got that electric fuel pump, all the wiring for the ECU, and then the wire that goes into the cab for the touchscreen. Oh yeah, the 70 Chevelle's got a touchscreen, but just for the Holley sniper system, which is, we hid that in the glove box, and we even put it up top, so when you open the glove box, initial look is it's just right there, wide open. But you can't even see that, that sniper underneath there with the breather. Can you see it over there on your side?
No, it's completely hidden underneath it.
Anything different over there? I mean,
no.
Every view is just what
Unless you're truly looking for it and you know what it is, you're not going to notice it.
Yep. The only thing that is noticed that did change is the coolant temp sensor that these intakes require. These new snipers and Phytex, all those things, they require coolant temp sensor to kind of get the heat of the engine, what temperature you're at, just to help with the tuning. But it sounds amazing, rides amazing. I think the customer's gonna like this one. I also think the customer's gonna like this one because I really like it too. So from a previous episode, I think we kind of touched on this a little bit. I think it was in that kind of about us. You were sanding on the bumper.
Yeah, I was.
I don't know if we explained it then or not, but this was a claim with the local Department of Transportation. Not a big issue, but there was I think like a cut in the road or something, a big construction in the road that wasn't properly signed yet because it had just started, and he was driving down the highway in this and hit it pretty hard because underneath there was there's a little core support hanging out kind of like this that holds the radiator and that whole support and everything. It essentially took the driver's side one and just bent it in and mangled it. I mean, it must have caught that pothole, that chunk of concrete or asphalt, whatever it was, and just, it looked like it just got squeezed. So the frame part was fine. It needed a little bit of tugging just to get the alignment right, which we had a local shop do that does some of the paint job stuff for us. They had painted the Viper we built last year. So I had them do this one again just because they knew it, they've done it before. But as you can see, this looks amazing now. I mean, the paint, the front bumper, from what it looked like before, it just makes it pop. They don't make these bumpers anymore, right?
I found that out the hard way.
It's that old crusty, flaky polyurethane, and it gets that way when it gets out into the elements. And where it had been hit, it had gotten out in the elements, and there's some other cracks there from previous. So, but since we were doing the whole thing, we just fixed the whole thing because it also got a bit of that hole that he hit and cracked it a few places. There were flex cracks all along the top here, stuff like that. So luckily, we were able to salvage this one with some tricks of the trade. What else?
Did the AEM wide sensor, wideband sensor?
There was a sensor on here that got snapped off from the impact. Oh, that door, the passenger door. It kind of put a shockwave down through the car, I think, because that door had kind of, either the door had come up or the roof had come down, but you'll see in some B footage again what we're talking about over there. It's pretty close as it is, just the way it was designed, but it must have gone up and been flexed back, because this is built to have a little flex for when you're tracking it. These things will flex a little bit out there, so there's slight movement, but it's just such a close gap up there that I think it kind of just sent that shock wave down through. And after seeing that radiator core support and the hit it took, there was definitely a shock wave down through here. But we fabricated that, got it in, they stretched the frame, painted the front to match so that I have to paint the whole thing, and now it looks amazing. So starts right up, which we didn't do any engine work on it. I wish we did, because it's got a pretty amazing setup with a supercharger on there, but she looks pretty nice. But that's what's amazing, I mean, look what's back there, which don't mind the stuff hanging from it. By the time you see this, it'll already be sold. Minor issue with the throw-out bearing that we fixed, just an adjustment. Didn't really like the clutch throw on it, so we wanted to adjust it before it got delivered. And yeah, I mean, the Lotus, the Cobra over here, it's kind of fun in here right now because of just all the cool projects we've got. And
every single one of them in here is a manual.
You heard that right here. Well, not the Bronco.
Bronco transmission isn't here right now, though.
Technicality. It's a manual because you have to use your feet and hands to push it right now. But yeah, so we do little small stuff here and there, little upgrades to cars that are already mostly built. So reach out if you want any of that. But next video is gonna be more Bronco, a little bit farther along. So hope you enjoyed this one. Thanks. Like, share, and subscribe.
Like, share, and subscribe.
Boom, nailed it.